Welcome to this week's episode of Forgiving the Girl Inside. Today we have special guest Amanda Randall with us, sharing her healing journey from broken to uncaged. She is a licensed social worker and heart patient coach. She has an incredible story of being a two-time survivor of open heart surgery and has now created materials and a community to help others heal from the physical and psychological trauma of medical treatment. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much.
You, I am so looking forward to hearing your story. It's not something that I've come across in all the interviews I've done. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So I am almost 28 years old. I am living in Cleveland, Ohio. So I was born with a set of heart defects, which are collectively known as tetralogy of Fallot. Um, so I had my first open heart surgery when I was about 10 months old, to repair some of the defects. Yeah. And then I had another open heart surgery when I was 25, to finish those repairs, including receiving an artificial heart valve. And then between those surgeries, I had several kind of less invasive procedures done with catheters and things like that. Basically, just to keep my heart functioning at an acceptable level, mostly as I was growing, because some of the repairs that they didn't grow with me. So they kind of had to adjust them as I got bigger.
Wow, that's a lot of trauma on your body to experience that, especially as your body is growing.
Mm.
Did it affect you emotionally in any way?
Um, yeah, it did. Um, it, I'm glad that you asked that because it's not as much about your body can heal from the surgeries, but what really is, what really kind of has the long-term effects is the emotional trauma that these surgeries can kind of take on you. The human body is incredible, and physically I'm basically living a normal life. I don't have any like physical restrictions, but the real healing journey was about the emotional um trauma.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Especially did it slow you down as far as like not wanting to do things because you felt limited because the healing journey of being broken down and caged. Um, what's that about? Tell us more about that.
Sure. So, um, my trauma mostly manifested as excuse me, as generalized anxiety. So I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder as a child. Um, and I was seeing a counselor throughout my childhood for this anxiety issue. Um, so basically, I was constantly feeling on edge. Um, basically, I felt like I was always waiting for like something bad to happen. Um, I also had really bad separation anxiety as a child. Um, so like doing stuff like going to school was really difficult for me. Um, One time, I think I was in like ninth grade, eighth grade or ninth grade. I came home after the first day of school and I just begged my mom to homeschool me because I didn't want to go back to school. And when I went to college, the college that I went to is only like 20 minutes from where my parents live, but I was still like a complete wreck. Um, Emotionally, when I left, I was so anxious, even though I was still really close to home. Um, I also had kind of these really intense reactions to things. My family, I'm like the drama queen in my family, um, because I tend to overreact to things that happen. Um, there's a story that my family likes to tell. When I was growing up, I was really afraid of needles, like really afraid of needles. So one time, I was probably around 12. I had to go to the hospital for a procedure on my heart, and they needed to do a blood draw before they would let me go home. So it took both of my parents and three nurses to hold me down and keep me still enough to get the blood draw so that they could like test it and make sure everything was okay so I could go home. Um, and all of these symptoms, so I had been living with all of these symptoms pretty much my whole life. Um, and I didn't really know any different. And then they got worse after my second surgery when I was 25. Um, there so like talking about the intense reactions to things, like a few months after my second surgery I had received like an essential oil like diffuser lamp as a gift, and I was setting it up in my bedroom, and there was this like cylinder of frosted glass that like went around it to kind of like soften the light or whatever. um and as I was like setting it up, I had like set this cylinder down on my bed, and it rolled off the bed and hit the wall and it broke. And right, so whatever, it broke. But I was so upset. I literally cried for like an hour in my like I remember my husband just like we're like sitting on the bed and my husband's just like holding me, and I remember just saying over and over and over again, I'm broken, I'm broken, I'm broken. Um and I realized like in that moment, it all trauma tends to not be something that you're aware of all the time, but then when stuff like that happens, you kind of come to the realization that like this is why you're reacting so intensely.
Yeah.
So I kind of realized in that moment that I was like, wow, like I feel like this piece of glass, like I've been broken and I can't ever be fixed.
Wow. That's powerful. So was that your major pivot point that helped you realize that you needed to do something differently?
So yeah, it kind of my pivot point kind of came in a couple of different ways. um what really kind of did it for me, was it actually happened as a result of my social work education. So I had my second surgery in between my first and second years of grad school for social work. And then so during my second year, I was able to take a couple classes about trauma. And as we were sitting in class, one of like the first weeks of the class, my professor was talking about kind of all the different types of trauma that we would cover in the class. And she like casually mentioned the term medical trauma. And it kind of just like those words just kind of like pierced me to my soul. And I was like, oh my goodness. Suddenly, everything that I've been experiencing my whole life makes so much more sense. Um, so once I learned that medical trauma was something that you could experience, was even something that existed, um I started to understand my symptoms and my experiences in that context. And all of a sudden it was like, wow, like I'm not broken. This is my body trying to protect me. I've been through a lot, and this is how I'm trying to get through it. This is my brain's way of protecting me. There's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah. Your stinking thinking kind of controlled your process, your thought process, and kept you stuck. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I'm glad that you found a modality that just really helped you get unstuck and move forward and realize with the brokenness that once you really weren't broken. It was just that your thoughts were telling you that you were, because you had gone through so much trauma. And it's amazing how many scientific studies there are about physical trauma and how it affects us emotionally. And when not those thoughts aren't processed, as those feelings are ignored, it kind of stores itself in our bodies and comes out sideways. It manifests itself through physical pain, through those moments when something happens that seems like so insignificant but makes you cry for an hour, because it just is accumulating, you know, like that just piles up and then it just has to burst forth. Um, so that's a powerful story. And I could see you picture that image that you drew of just sitting there crying, and that I know what that piece looks like, and shattered all over the floor, like that. So powerful, powerful moment for you to just realize, okay, this is what's going to happen. So if you could share, what's life like now that you're aware of this? Do you have like triggers or signals? Is there something, is there a feeling in your body that kind of gets triggered that senses you to say, hey, you're going down this path, you need to turn yourself around and, you know, stop replaying that old movie and start this new adventure instead?
Yeah. So um the first thing that I really did was educate myself, and luckily I was in a grad school program for social work, so I had a lot of resources at my disposal to learn about medical trauma and to learn what it was and how to deal with it, um and things like that. And so after that, because I was in school for social work, I was learning as part of my professional education basically how to heal myself, which was really cool. Um, and I kind of focused on three different things: physically healing my body, obviously, mentally, and then spiritually. So physically, listening to your doctors and doing the things that just taking care of yourself, basically, with diet, exercise, all of those kinds of things, um, because not only does that just help you feel better on a daily basis, but to me it felt like I was preventing myself from potentially having to go through another traumatic event as I continued, and it as like my it what am I trying to say? So as as I continue, if I'm not taking care of myself, if I'm not taking care of my body, then I'm going to run into more issues later on in my life. And so, in an effort to not run into those issues and to minimize the amount of trauma that I would experience in my life, trying to take care of myself on a regular basis, particularly taking care of my heart, um, so that I don't have to go in for more surgeries because there's something wrong, or there's something got, you know, to something got calcified, something got blocked or whatever. Um,
Right.
so that's really important for me. The other thing emotionally is to just really set myself up to feel like I'm in control of my life.
Mhm.
I realized through a lot of years of counseling that one of the main issues that arose for me because of my first open heart surgery was that, so I was 10 months old. So I wasn't talking, I couldn't walk, like I wasn't doing any of those things. Maybe I was walking, I'm not really sure. But it definitely was not talking. Um, so I'm going into the hospital, I'm being put to sleep, I wake up and like everything hurts.
Yeah.
And then there's like all these nurses coming in and like, drawing my blood, like sticking me with this needle and putting, like, giving me this medication and putting this on me and moving me this way. And I can't, I can't verbalize to anybody like, hey, that hurts. Maybe, maybe don't do that to me.
Yeah.
Um, so it was all very much like I felt very out of control of what was happening to me, on a really deep level. And so those I think are things even now that are my main triggers, is that if I'm in a situation where I feel like I'm not in control, that's when those anxiety and trauma feelings start to kind of bubble back up again. And so to combat that, I try to advocate for myself in every aspect of my life as much as I can. Um, Seeking counseling, learning the skills that I can use to cope with these feelings. Um, and being an advocate, one of the things that I really advocate for as a coach is that patients feel confident enough and comfortable enough to ask questions of their doctors and ask questions of their nurses, ask them about medications, um, because they have a lot of advanced training, but they're human too. um, and ultimately it's up to us as a patient to make sure that we're getting the care that we need. So I know a lot of patients kind of get silenced by the weight of like a medical degree, someone with a medical degree telling you what to do. But really, it helps, I think, emotionally to ask those questions and to um, get that information, because it helps you feel like you're taking back some of the control of what's happening to you. And
Right.
it can be, you can be more of like an active participant rather than somebody that's just like laying on a bed and like just having stuff done to them. Um, and really looking for supportive people around you. I am fortunate that I have a lot of family members that are supportive of me getting mental health counseling, supported, that are understanding of the trauma, at least on a basic level, and are
Mhm.
willing to, support me through those things when I am triggered, so that I don't, kind of fall back down the rabbit hole. Um,
Yeah.
it really is about a lot of like diligent self-care. You really
Mhm.
have to be serious about taking care of yourself in every facet of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. If you let that one thing go, that it's kind of like a domino effect, and then you're,
Mhm.
you know, three steps forward, one step back, or one step forward, three steps back. However you want to look at it, it's really, if you're not diligent, consistent, and conscious of what is going on, listening to your body, it is going to rebel against you, basically. So yeah, I love that you recognize that and implemented it and I never realized people have surgeries all the time, and you never really think about the emotional impact those surgeries have. I recently had surgery on January 7th, and I didn't want to have it. And I went back and forth with my doctor, and he's like, you need the surgery. So what's wrong? Like, why are you so fearful? And it was like calling me out on it. I'm like, well, there's lots of reasons why I'm fearful. Like, it's you're removing things from my body. So
Yeah.
you don't, yeah, and to think of it that as, what one friend had asked me, oh, did you really need that surgery? No, I voluntarily went in and got surgery. Like, of course I needed it. And some people just, sometimes that can really derail your thought process and kind of keep you down that, as you say, that root, that rabbit hole,
Right.
because you're thinking, well, of course, and you don't know what my health concerns are, my problems are. Like, why would you even ask that kind of question? So it's awesome that your family is supporting you, and that you have that network
Mhm.
of that safety net, basically, so that you can move forward and get the help. And it's okay. Years ago it used to be that, oh, if you went for counseling, there was something wrong with you. And I was in counseling for over 30 years, and it was helpful, and helped me got track. But I would never tell anybody, because
Mhm.
that was taboo back then. So it's nice that we have this support. And it's kind of cool that you've opened up this coaching business for these hard people, and you're a licensed social worker, so you have all the skills, the tools that you need to really help someone go through. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing.
So, right now I have a community on Facebook called Surviving and Thriving Heart Patients and Families. Um, right now I am putting out resources and videos, print resources, video resources, and adding stuff every day, um, on mostly on issues around medical trauma, what it is, and how to cope with it, and resources if if you feel like you need outside um, help for it, but also just practical information for heart patients, regarding, like, kind of what I was talking about, giving people resources to feel like they're more in control and that they have more power in those situations where they're going to their cardiologist or they're having a consultation with their surgeon and they don't know what to expect or they don't know what to ask. um, to provide people with those resources so that they can walk in to those appointments and feel confident that they're going to get the information that they need, and that they're in a place where they can take a little bit of control over their own healthcare. um so I also have, in the guide section of my group, it's called the suggestion box. And basically it's just a thread where people can post things, questions that they have, things that they're wondering about. And I take those suggestions and put them into future trainings. I'm also in the process of developing some more comprehensive material, like courses on medical trauma and stuff specifically about open heart surgery, um, that I'm really excited about. I'm trying to grow and trying to provide people with what they need to be able to go into any kind of medical treatment, because it doesn't have to be heart surgery. It can be
Right.
traumatic no matter what, no
Right.
matter what part of your body it is. But to really, empower people to go into that space and go into that experience with the tools that they need so that hopefully those traumatic effects can be mitigated, and they can kind of be prepared so that they're not so that it isn't as big of a shock to their
Right.
system, I
Right.
guess, when
Um,
when it does happen. Because the thing about medical trauma, and the thing that's kind of unique, is that you know it's not like a car accident or like some sort of like abuse or something like that, where you can avoid it and you never have to go back there. You never have to go back to that situation. Even, I mean, for a patient, even going into the doctors for a physical can be triggering.
yeah.
So, it's really important to build those skills, because avoiding the triggers is not always possible.
Right. Right. That's awesome. So yeah, if you are looking for support with this type of care, like any, as Amanda said, any type of surgery, not just heart surgery, she has an awesome Facebook group, and the link will be in the description box where you can join and get these free guides. And being equipped, I love that idea of especially a parent going into the doctor's office equipped with a list of questions to ask and things to know before you go, so that you can make a decision and really have the best possible um, resource available to you to know, like, this is the best route, and like, what happens if I do this. So I know there's a lot of people who have that issue where they're like, well, the doctor's saying this and I don't know, and then you start going off and asking questions from your family members, and then you get poor advice. So having a guide to actually give you that roadmap is awesome. I love that idea. So, well, thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing your story. It's incredible. You are a strong woman, and you just radiate confidence, and I just love what you're doing. And just, yeah, I can just see you helping many, many people. So that's awesome. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you.
Great. And if you know anybody that would like to connect with Amanda, please share this video. And if you'd like to be notified of our next video, they do come out every Tuesday with a new guest sharing their healing journey. Please hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified. Have an amazing day.